bit. We can take some folks over here. Kat. You got that. Here. Just come on over here, just around the constable. We'll be up here.
Everybody's got a mask. That's tight. How you doing? You doing all right?
Yeah, yourself?
Good. Good. Dean, you doing all right?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah. Where's Dean?
We could have moved
Very
this.
busy, but it's all good.
Could have
Dean
moved
Burnett,
that
you
forward.
coming up? You're part of this. You're part of this group. Okay. All right, then we'll just tighten up around him.
Yeah. Everybody been vaccinated?
Yes.
All right, that's good. I want to take, because this thing's hard to talk through. The first thing I want to address, thank you for all being here. The first thing I want to address, obviously, is our deputy that was involved and injured last night in a pursuit. I won't talk about the case or any investigations of it, but to talk about him and who he is. And I first want to say the public has been incredible of the outpouring of love, prayer, support for not only our agency, but for this deputy individually. It has been overwhelming to me, the love and support that's been given to our department and to this deputy and his family. So first, I want to acknowledge that. Second, I will tell you he is in stable condition. He does have very serious injuries, internal injuries that are being addressed and triaged. He was awake and responsive when I visited with him last night. His family is surrounded by him, and our department is surrounded. He's surrounded by our department, members of our department as well. So he's doing as well to be expected. He did get run over by a vehicle. So he's extremely lucky and blessed to be alive. And so for that, we're thankful for that as well. So I would continue to ask the public for prayer for his speedy recovery. He has 2 children, 2 young kids and a stepchild. He's been with our department for 3 years. He's been a great deputy. He's a public servant at heart, and we just continue to pray for, again, his speedy recovery. But he is in stable condition and is going to be in the hospital, and there's going to be a significant recovery time period. Anybody need me to address anything on that before we get into the other? Stefania?
Do you know anything about like how he was ran over? Was the vehicle reversing, going forward? Was he the only deputy there at the time?
Oh, no. There was 4 of our deputies and a Houston police officer. So, and I don't want to get into specifics of the case because it's under investigation. I can tell you that he was actually run over by the vehicle completely. So again, I spoke to the emergency room doctor last night, and he's very lucky to be alive. He's very lucky that he didn't, worse things happened to him. So I'm so thankful to God for protecting him at a time when it could have gone another way. So it was a rough night for all of us. It really was. And we also lost somebody that, may have done some bad things allegedly, but, he lost his life as well. So we need to acknowledge that. Okay, anybody else have any questions about our injured deputy? Okay. Well, good. I wanted to assemble this group here today because, as y'all know, the U.S. Supreme Court lifted the moratorium on evictions. As constable, we serve evictions. All 8 constables serve evictions throughout Harris County. And we served actually 70 evictions last month, which, again, I don't know why people, maybe they didn't qualify for the moratorium, maybe they didn't know how to do it. And so the whole purpose of us and the foundation, the Harris County Precinct 1 Foundation, was to raise money to help people in the process that were going to potentially be evicted from their homes. And we wanted to be impactful. We wanted to listen to experts that are here and sit around and find the best way that we could help the public through this and be most impactful and helpful to the public. This agency has always been about helping the public, and we will always be about helping the public. So we try to be innovative. We try to bring unique things to the table that maybe some spaces in the eviction process that aren't being addressed. And that's why we relied on the incredible experts that are here today with me to tell us where there's a void, where there's a gap. And so I wanted to make sure that this was covered so that the public knew that there is help out there, but you've got to seek it. I know that Channel 13 did a story recently where only 3% of the people understood the process of getting help. 3%. And so clearly the message is not resonating with people to get the help and assistance that's out there. And we have a unique program that we're putting together that we've partnered with the Harris County Precinct 1 Foundation, South Texas College of Law, Lone Star Legal Aid, and we have a very unique project that is going to assist with a space of people that would fall through the cracks. And so with that, and the last thing I'll say before we turn that over, our governor has got a moratorium in place right now that ends on October 1st. So think about this. You have people that have been living under the moratorium that have been continuing to have rent being charged. So they're in arrears. They could be in arrears thousands of dollars. And if they don't know how to tap into some of the rental relief programs that are out there, that the local government has, the Houston-Harris County rental relief program, the state of Texas rental relief program, my fear, and I certainly don't want to raise alarms where they're not, but my fear is that people don't know how to take advantage of that. And, you know, we could see a significant rise in evictions. And so we have to address this. We have to get this information out to the public. So that's why we brought these team of experts together that know the space in the eviction process that's not being addressed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Shaw, who's a part of our Precinct 1 Foundation. Chief?
Thank you, Constable, very much for your leadership in this time when property owners and tenants needed some leadership to join together and take advantage of some of the opportunities the system had. I first want to acknowledge the people that are here today. I first want to thank our partner, Dean Michael Berry, for being with us today from the South Texas College of Law, Houston. I also want to acknowledge David Towery, who is a South Texas alum and also one of the directors on the Harris County Constable Precinct 1 Foundation, as well as Eric Quatler, who is one of the leaders and one of the lawyers at the South Texas College of Law Eviction Defense Clinic. On this side, I have Donna Carney, who is the managing attorney for Lone Star Legal Aid, and I have also one of our partners in the Harris County Foundation, which is Catherine McCready, a local lawyer and former elected official who worked on some projects that were helpful in her growth to serve on our board. I want to walk you briefly through this initiative. What originally happened was that there was an understanding that there was a gap. There were billions of dollars in the state and millions of dollars throughout the county that tenants weren't getting access to. And the landlords didn't have access to them either. And so the constable, recognizing the issue that we had, said, how do we get together a group of experts who could help us make an impactful decision about how to use this money? And so there was money that was raised through a GoFundMe account to directly help tenants who were struggling with that process. And clearly, when only 3% of the people had representation and there were millions and millions of dollars being untapped, the space that this brilliant group came to was that we could help these folks by going out into their neighborhoods and meeting them where they were and showing them how to work through the moratorium and how the landlords and the tenants could get access to these funds. So one of our other partners was the Texas Apartment Association, who also came to some of these clinics to help teach the landlords how to get their tenants involved. And so this process, so we're very transparent today. There was money that was raised, and we put the exact checks for you to see here today to understand how this happened. There was $70,000 that, well, first of all, there was a total of $264,268.51 that was raised through a GoFundMe account. And in order for every dollar to go through the assistance of people in our community, the Harris County Constable Foundation donated all of the money that it took to structurally build the clinics. That is to go into the neighborhoods of the zip codes that were most affected and put tents and driveways in there. Those funds did not come from the money that was raised. It came from outside sources and donors who gave money to make that happen. That was approximately $3,000. There's a check over here that represents that amount. 70,000 of the 264 went to the South Texas College of Law, and for a year they stewarded that money to get representation to almost 1,200 families. That's probably 3,000 to 5,000 people were directly impacted by this initiative, where they were able to get access to CDC paperwork, and they were able to find out about the funding that was available that was not being utilized. Only a fraction of the millions of dollars that were there through the county and the state were being accessed. And so the total in this initiative was $267,269.50. And so today, Dean, what we want to do is we want to have your expert team talk to these folks about this new initiative where we're going to be able to help these tenants out. And we want to be able to fund that mission, because the 3% of the people that have representation isn't working, because having hundreds of millions of dollars unaccessed doesn't serve these people. And when they go into court and are unable to have discourse with the landlords, they need representation. So today, on behalf of the foundation, I would ask that our board member, David Towery, present you with a check for $188,168.51.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. That's good. Yep.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. And if you would, Dean, I think it would be important to understand from the law school their perspective of how this works.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Berry. I have the honor of serving as the president and dean of South Texas College of Law Houston. South Texas College of Law Houston is a mission-driven law school here in the heart of downtown Houston. And at the heart of that mission is service, and particularly service to those who are in need, service to those who are otherwise unable to get legal representation. And to accomplish that mission, South Texas draws upon its innovative spirit, its entrepreneurial experience, and the expertise and strength of its faculty, its staff, and its alumni. And we have done that here to create programs, new and novel programs, that provide excellent legal representation to those who need rental assistance. Over the last 18 months, one of the most significant consequences of the pandemic has been housing and housing instability. And while many have thrived during the pandemic and the stock market may be at record highs, millions lost their jobs. And when they lost their jobs and their sources of income, it affected their ability to pay rent. And this devastating effect was not just on the renters, but on the landlords as well. Rental assistance programs have been created across the nation to meet this emerging crisis. but you have heard today how few people have been able to avail themselves of those resources. Making this program work requires that the eviction process be put on pause so that applications for rental assistance can be completed and processed. And that's where South Texas College of Law Houston, Lone Star Legal Aid, the Eviction Defense Coalition, and funded by the support of the Harris County Constable Precinct 1 Foundation, stepped in. And stepped in with one of the first programs in the country that actually went out into the neighborhoods to provide large-scale assistance to those in need. Generous Houstonians funded this work to help keep families in their homes. They donated the money that made this project possible. Because navigating the ins and the outs of the eviction moratorium process that was in place last year, the entire eviction process requires legal advice, and all too many have not been able to avail themselves of that advice. The foundation reached out to South Texas College of Law Houston because they recognized our school's commitment to the community, our ability to execute complex programs, and the excellence of our legal team, led in this case by people like Eric Qualtzler, a public interest attorney at South Texas. And they knew that we had the entrepreneurial capability to create something new that would benefit Houstonians. That's our mission to the Houston community. So almost a year ago, we started with large-scale drive-through programs, clinics in which hundreds of households received advice about their eligibility to qualify for the CDC moratorium, as well as getting assistance on how to complete those forms. This could not have been done without Constable Rosen and the Precinct 1 Foundation. They provided the infrastructure that allowed us to provide the legal knowledge. This was the first program of its kind in Texas. And through that program, 228 households were served. As many as 1,000 people when you count the families, the children, the parents, and other household members. They were able to stay in their homes. A second project last fall involved walk-in clinics at 2 area churches in neighborhoods that were most directly hit: Acres Homes and Denver Harbor. An additional 74 families received help and those programs. Again, Constable Rosen and his team provided crucial infrastructure. And the third prong was a hotline project, operating Monday through Friday, day and night, that was designed to help those who could not come to one of the drive-through or walk-in programs. 607 additional families received support. In sum, South Texas College of Law Houston and the other members of this coalition have provided some 909 families with assistance to stay in their homes during the worst part of COVID. Thousands of Houstonians have benefited. And with these programs, not only have they benefited, but as rental assistance is gained, the landlords are able to benefit as well. Building coalitions is important in housing. South Texas has partnered with the Keep Harris Housed Coalition to combine the original CDC moratorium assistance with rental applications. This online portal has provided an additional 288 families here in Houston with support, again with the assistance of the Precinct 1 Foundation staff. All totaled, another 1,000 or more Houstonians have been able to stay in their homes. In the past 2 months, both Harris County, the state of Texas, have earmarked millions of dollars for rental assistance, providing lawyers with the ability to assist those in need. They recognize the critical role that attorneys play in helping keeping individuals in their homes. And the generosity of Houstonians has enabled South Texas to now carry this program forward. Our attorneys and students will now, with the funds that we're receiving today, be able to represent tenants facing evictions. And once again, we're using an innovative approach. If a tenant is facing eviction and they lose their trial at the JP court, they can appeal. But they can appeal only if they place in the registry of the court an amount equal to 1 month's rent. But someone who is behind on rent doesn't have access to the funds to put into the registry of the court. We will be able to use these funds that we are receiving today to help pay those rental registries for those who are seeking help. That will allow them to file an appeal and provide the time for them to seek rental assistance and for our attorneys to work with the tenants and landlords to seek a resolution that benefits both parties. And as those funds are returned from the registry of the court, they can be used again for the next tenant and repurposed to benefit even more Houston residents. This is a novel program, and thanks to the generosity of Houstonians, we are able to help our neighbors to ensure that they, with the help of our attorneys and our students, keep a roof over their heads at this critical time. COVID has been devastating for so many in our community, and housing security is at the forefront of those problems. But many people in Houston donated to this GoFundMe page to help their neighbors. And through the assistance of the Houston Harris County Constable One Foundation, we have been able to use those funds to serve others and to help ensure that housing insecurity is not a problem for the thousands of Houstonians that we have been able to help. We look forward to all of those that we will be able to continue to assist through this generosity. Constable, we are greatly appreciative.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
And-
So, go ahead.
And so now I would like to have Eric Quartler and Donna Carney, who are
brains
soldiers actually on the ground every day putting these things to work. So if you two would come up and just take a moment, if there's anything else that you want to elaborate on about how this program is effective.
Yeah. Sorry. So one thing that's important to understand about evictions is that over 90% of them are for non-payment of rent. Almost all of them are for non-payment of rent. The best way for us as tenants attorneys to stop an eviction for non-payment of rent is to pay the rent. That way, not only can we avoid the eviction, but the landlord gets the money that they're owed. The best way we can do that right now is promoting rental assistance. We have 2 excellent rental assistance programs going on right now, one Houston Harris County ERAP and the other Texas Rent Relief. Both are currently paying out. The Houston Harris County program has paid out over $190 million in rent relief, and they're still going, and they hopefully will be still going for several months. So what are we doing here? We're helping people get access to that money and helping landlords get paid. We represent tenants. We're going to go to court with some of this money and make sure that tenants can survive the eviction process until that rent relief can come through. And sometimes that takes time. Rent relief is not a quick process. Understandably, they have a lot of applications. So it may take time, longer time than they would have if they just went to justice of the peace court at the lowest level. So in order to buy them that time, we need to appeal to the next highest level. And if they want to stay in their homes during that appeal process, they need to pay, as the dean said, 1 month's rent into the registry of the court to stay where they are until they can get that rent relief to come through. So no one else is doing. This is a hole in our safety net, this amount that has to be paid. We see clients all the time end up having to be served by the constable with a writ of possession because they can't come up with this 1 month's rent. Maybe rent relief is on the way, but they just didn't have enough time. So that's what this is about. This program is about having attorneys in court to help tenants understand this and giving them the facility to stay in their home until that rental assistance can come through. That way the landlords get paid, the eviction is avoided, and no one with COVID ends up in the streets.
Eric, thank you. I'm Donna Carney. I'm the managing attorney of the Eviction Right to Counsel Unit at Lone Star Legal Aid. I want to echo what's been said here, but I really want to highlight something that I think cannot be underscored enough, and that is just how innovative this program is for tenants. The White House has paid attention to what's been going on in Houston and Harris County. In fact, the entire country has been aware that Houston leads the race to the bottom in eviction filings. And so while our eviction numbers are suppressed compared to pre-pandemic, they are still extremely high compared to the rest of the country. This program is something that has been floated as an idea for months, and it has really taken the innovation of the constable and the deputy, for which we're super grateful. We represent tenants. We see them facing homelessness. We are dealing with people who are the most vulnerable in our communities. And I'm very, very proud to be working with South Texas College of Law. We have 3 other partners, and that is the University of Houston, the Earl Carl Institute, and the Houston Volunteer Lawyers. Together, we comprise the Eviction Defense Coalition, one of its kind program in the country, and I think that it's really the effort of everybody up here is the reason that the White House and Washington have paid attention to the successes in Houston, Harris County. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't stress enough these 2 legal scholars and the work they've done to save so many families. You're looking at 2 people that have inspired us at Precinct 1. They've inspired our foundation, and we just can't thank them enough for always being there at the table and working with us to be most impactful. This agency will always be impactful. We will always try to help those that are less fortunate, whether they're in the criminal justice system or not. And so that's what we stand for. This just so happens to be the space of constables' duties to serve evictions, and there's no better way than to help people than we did here today. If Spanish speaking,
If she's got a statement.
she's got a statement she's going to give in Spanish as
So
well.
this is Catherine McCree, one of the directors of the Harris County Constable Foundation, who's got a message for people in our community.
Buenas tardes. Nuestra fundación está orgulloso de trabajar con el Constable de Precinto 1, la Facultad de Derecho de South Texas College of Law Houston y los expertos en defensa de desalojos para ayudar a los propietarios y inquilinos a acceder en la ayuda relacionada con COVID. La continuación de nuestros esfuerzos asegurará que más personas obtengan un alivio directo y significativo. Gracias.
So you'll be able to get information to help the public and help those in need by the numbers here. These are the assistant helplines that I would encourage you to get out to your listeners. Please call. I know it's the 1st of the month. I know it's September 1st. I know people's rents are due, and I know they may be worried about getting evicted because they don't know what's going on nationally and they don't know what's going on locally in terms of our state. So please reach out to these groups. They are phenomenal at solving problems. I know that often during our drive-through clinics, people would show up to the clinic basically in tears. And once they got that legal advice provided by Eric and Donna and others, they left with a plan. They left with hope. And that's what this is about. So we're going to do this. Is just another innovative program that has really been put together by great legal minds. And it was a space in the eviction process that was void. Nobody was addressing this specific issue of when somebody appeals their case, if they lost and they're being evicted at the JP level, they want to be able to appeal because they need to buy time to get that rental assistance. We will have that money there to pay their 1 month's rent to the registry of the court so they can appeal. And that is huge. That's going to help people stay housed. That's what this is about. At this point, I'll open it up to any question for anybody that's up here. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question about self-evictions during
Yes.
the pandemic.
Yes.
And, those like informal evictions and lockouts that happen when the landlord hasn't filed a case.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering, has your office gotten a lot of calls during the pandemic about those situations where a tenant calls you and says, my landlord is telling me to leave but hasn't actually filed anything? And if you do get those calls, what have you been advising them?
I would refer them to our legal group.
So that's what your office is doing?
That's what I would do, yes. And in fact, when our officers serve evictions, we go with paperwork for resources. We give out resources to those that we're even giving eviction papers to, so that they know how to access resources, whether it be food, housing, legal assistance. My officers that serve those evictions carry those cards with them, because we know during this pandemic, people are suffering, and we want to be part of the solution to that suffering.
So when you get those calls, you're referring them to legal aid?
We would, and that's why we want everybody to get these numbers. We also have a slide that also shows how every penny of this money has been spent, where it's been spent, and how it's been spent.
One other question.
Yes, ma'am.
Those situations where the constable and movers show up and they're, moving the person out,
Mhm.
do you hear about situations where the tenant is saying, I'm waiting on rent relief, like I've applied and I'm waiting, like, and what is your protocol for dealing with that situation?
I don't know specifically. I can tell you that our deputies bring cards that give resources to that person. It's the worst part of my job. And especially now when we're dealing with so many people that are, that are getting sick. The last thing they want to have to worry about is housing instability. So we do give out resources. I haven't specifically heard of any of our deputies encountering somebody that says, hey, I'm waiting on rent relief, but that's what this program's for. This program is allowing people to buy them that extra time in the appeals process, where we pay, or the foundation pays, the South Texas College of Law pays that first month's rent into the registry of the court so they can appeal and buy more time. And that's what it is. We had 70 last month.
So once you have that writ, do you have any discretion to
No, ma'am.
do anything different?
No, ma'am, I'm directed by the court, and I have a fiduciary duty to serve those. As horrible as that is, I have to do my job. Otherwise, I could be held in contempt, and I'd have to get Eric or Donna to help me out with that. So, any other questions?
Constable, you said 70 last month.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
expect this, what do you expect this month now that there's no ban?
Well, there's a ban in Texas till October 1st. Here's where I am. I'm concerned about people getting access to rental relief right now, because again, there are people sitting out there right now that are in arrears, thousands of dollars. And if the moratorium's lifted in the state, the governor has one that's in effect right now, that at the end of that, if it's not extended, say the pandemic or the numbers go down and the governor decides not to extend it, at that point, that's where I'm very concerned that people would be in arrears, and if they haven't gotten that rental assistance, we could see an uptick in evictions. And that's what I'm ringing the bell about a bit. I want people to take advantage of all the legal resources that are here. And again, 13 had 3% people were, they had somebody on that said people were taking advantage of the moratorium, about 3%. And it's because they lack the legal advice, which is the very space that we were trying to address for the last year, is that legal advice and not understanding how to file the paperwork, what to do, and all that. And so that's why we popped up these clinics. That's why we did all the work that we did up to this point.
Has this program already started? Have you guys paid that
This is-
fee to buy them some time?
We have not had a case yet. That's why this money's being given today, so we can start addressing that. Again, we sat around, we do things methodically here. We do things with a little thought. And we sat around with experts and said, what space in the eviction process is not being met, either by the federal government, state government, local government? What space is kind of missing? And this is the space that nobody's really seeing or has paid attention to. Not to be critical, because they're doing a lot of work. There are a lot of agencies that are hitting it so hard, and they're doing everything they can to protect people. But I can tell you, especially Harris County, Houston, and local, but I can tell you that this was a space that wasn't being addressed, and now it is. And so we hope that this, along with people being able to get the rental assistance that they so desperately need, that this will help avert a lot of people being evicted if the moratorium is lifted.
Are you saying that the governor's moratorium, is it going to actually stop evictions for the next month?
I'm going to let Eric, because he knows way more than I
And
do.
when was it put in place? 'Cause
I have that.
Sorry.
Well, there's a Supreme Court of Texas. It started on July 19th. Nope. You go ahead and deal with it.
Yeah, I'll talk
Let
about
the
it.
expert deal with that
Yeah,
question.
so there's not a moratorium in place, actually, the constable, it's an understandable mistake because it's very confusing to parse all of these programs. What's in place is what's called the Texas Eviction Diversion Program. The Texas Eviction Diversion Program allows for landlords and tenants to come together and have the landlord receive rental assistance, what we call abate the case, basically delay the case for 60 days and automatically seal it. So landlords won't be able to see the eviction in the future. It's a great program, but it's not a moratorium. So it's something that both the landlord and the tenant have to agree to. So a lot of the judges now are very, very easily funneling people into this Texas Eviction Diversion Program once they find out that they've gotten rental assistance or getting it. And so we're getting a lot of people participating. But it does expire shortly, but there is definitely a possibility that the Texas Supreme Court could renew it. These emergency orders there's a time limit on how long they can last. So a sunset provision like that and expiration date doesn't mean that they intend for it to end that day. So if anyone has any questions. But
Today,
oh, for sure. Yeah. Evictions can definitely happen. There is currently no primary moratorium against evictions in Texas or Harris County. So there is, for the vast majority of cases, no reason why a landlord could not evict a tenant, assuming all other legal prerequisites have been met.
If it's a person that is in that bind, then how long does it take for them to get this aid for them? Like a month, 2 months, 3 months? What is the time period?
Unfortunately, there's not a good answer to that. The two different programs have different time periods, but sometimes it just varies. Sometimes you'll see a tenant get it in 2 weeks. Sometimes you'll see a tenant be on the hook for 2 months. So there is a website for Houston Harris that you can check your status, which is really great. You can always see where you are in the process. And so when we represent tenants, we always make sure we get that confirmation number so we can keep checking on that for them. But there's really not a good answer, unfortunately. They're doing the best they can.
how long can the appeal extend the process?
So theoretically indefinitely, but realistically it's about a month most of the time between when the Justice of the Peace Court sends the case up to the County Court of Law and when that trial is set. Now, obviously they're behind right now because all of the county courts of law have been following the CDC moratorium, so they have a backlog. So it's taking a little longer. But when it normalizes, it's usually about a month, wouldn't you say?
Constable, I have a question. How,
Stay
you know,
close. Stay
Stay
close.
right here.
No, it's, you know, I've done a number of these stories, and you know, I saw Judge Wanda Adams was educating people on this, and the thing that I hear from people, they just don't know about the program, or
Yes.
they know about it, but they don't understand how it works. I know you've been doing this stuff, you've done the events,
Yes.
but how? I mean, our stories aren't reaching people; they're not explaining it. So how do you reach those people that need? Like, what else can be done to educate people about these programs?
Well, I believe that you've got to keep messaging it. I think almost brainwashing people into the fact that there are these programs out there. There are legal people that will assist you. And so having a one-hit story, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to keep messaging this on our social media platforms. Everybody has to do it. There may even be some public service announcements that you may want to partner, your station may want to partner with this coalition, the defense coalition, so that people are constantly hearing that. And I do stand corrected, but and I hope it gets extended. But if it doesn't, people need to hear this more now than ever. And so, become part of the solution, our news media folks, and partner with these people, these organizations that are doing this great work, so that this message can get out. I don't know another way unless you went door to door, or you did a robocall that says if you're interested or if you're facing eviction, please call this hotline number. There are a lot of ways that you can message, but I think it's incumbent upon everybody, our print media, our television media, our radio media, our own individual Facebook platforms. All these platforms need to message that there is assistance out there, there is relief assistance out there, money, and there's legal assistance out there. I think that's the only way we're surviving. You may have something to add.
Yeah. So you really hit the nail on the head, right? All of us struggle with messaging. All of us struggle with getting to people where they are. I will say that we've both been partners in the Keep Harris House Coalition for the last, 9 months, maybe more. The Keep Harris House Coalition started doing drive-through events inspired by what we did with Precinct 1. And now we're working together, and we've shifted those away from the CDC declaration events to rental assistance events. And we are holding them once or twice a month. And y'all have done a great job of coming out and covering them. But we get people, one time we had 1,000 people show up to one of these events, literally 1,000. We had to turn 300 of them away because we had 35 navigators there, but as fast as you can go, it takes time. So there is a way, and part of that is our amazing partnership with the Texas Gulf Coast Area Labor Confederation, because those union members canvass. They go door to door in the areas that we are doing these events. We also partner with faith-based organizations in the community. We partnered with La Iglesia del Pueblo in Pasadena, which was hugely successful because they have a radio station of their own. And so we had people from all over the county come. So I think the real answer is go to the people, walk to the people, tell them that this exists, because they come out. If you build it, they will come if you tell them it's there.
Can you also tell them, please, that it works?
It absolutely does.
Yeah. Good point.
I think they
Yeah.
that it may not be a legitimate thing, that
Good
they actually
point.
can get their rent paid for.
Absolutely. We've seen people get a year's back rent paid. This is a serious thing. They are giving out real money to solve your problems. You should apply. You do not have to have legal status to apply to the Houston Harris County ERAP program. That is important to understand. You can apply in Spanish. You can apply in other languages. Whenever we do these events, and the next ones, by the way, are on September 9th and 10th, September 9th in Pasadena, September 10th in 5th Ward. And you can come out. We have people who speak Vietnamese. We have people who speak Spanish. We have people who speak Tagalog. If you do not speak English, we will find someone to speak with you. So please do not be afraid to come out. We are here to try and help you in your neighborhood or in someone else's neighborhood. Wherever you can go, we will be there if we can.
I wanna-
Donna,
It's documented and undocumented people, you guys can.
Absolutely. Yes, undocumented people can apply. Absolutely.
I want you to say it one more time.
Repeat again.
Undocumented people can apply for this assistance without question. We see a lot of undocumented people come through, and we are always happy to help them apply for this assistance.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Donna first, and then I'll.
I want to maybe just add to that. We're lawyers. We try to help people stay housed and beat the eviction case. But we're very, very well aware, in part because we are responsible for training the justices of the peace. We were involved in that effort just a month ago. One of the JPs who spoke to all of the justices of the peace in Texas announced, one of the JPs out of Fort Bend County, that he's aware of a landlord who received a 6-digit check. That check covered many, many tenants' back rent. So for landlords, this is absolutely vital to their existence. For our communities, this is a way to get these federal dollars infused into our local economies. And for tenants, I think what's really important for tenants to know is that a tenant can apply for these programs even if their landlord refuses to participate. And that is integral to this program in ways that it was not maybe 8 or 9 months ago when they first rolled out the original rental assistance money.
So I'm seeing on our Facebook reading comments, people saying that they've applied and they were immediately denied.
So, yeah, I really would like to address that, and I think South Texas would agree with me, as the rest of our Eviction Defense Coalition partners. The country has approximately a 10% rate of tenants being represented by counsel. In Harris County, we never surpassed 5%, and that was with our greatest efforts. I cannot impress enough upon a tenant, please get yourself an attorney. If you're eligible for legal services, our services are free. And we partner up with other organizations like this foundation so that we can help fill in the gaps where the gaps need to be filled. More than anything, if a tenant can get an attorney on board, we have contacts with TDHCA, we have contacts with Houston Harris Help. We do everything we can to try to expedite those applications for our clients. If you're not our client, the only person who's missing out is you, the tenant.
So the attorney will be free to help out?
Our attorneys and paralegal staff are federally funded, we're locally funded, that's correct. And there's quite a bit of money that's actually come through, not only through the foundation, as the constable spoke, but also through the federal government, the American Rescue Plan and other, CARES Act gave us funding as well.
And so your question is at the very heart of the issue, which is there are people that are frustrated, there are people that have been denied, and because of the low rate of representation, they haven't been able to navigate the funding and the paperwork to get access. So Constable Rosen, through the foundation, has put together an avenue for this group to help the people that you're talking about on your Facebook page who have been denied to step into the space, fill out an application, and get the assistance the way it was designed to happen. So please, if you've been denied and you're writing in on the Facebook page, now is the time to reach out to these two phone numbers and come in and get the benefit of these two experts to help connect you to the services that they would otherwise be entitled to get.
I also want to say, if you've been denied, it's not the end of the world, okay? It doesn't mean that you won't get assistance. You can apply again. There's nothing wrong with that. You can also apply, remember there are two programs right now, Texas Rent Relief and Houston Harris County. Apply to both. If you get denied immediately, they should tell you why. If not, just apply again. There may be a procedural error, it may have been a clerical error. This is a big program, it's not perfect. Also, if you've been denied, you can come to one of our Keep Harris Housed events. We have representatives there from Catholic Charities, from the Alliance, from Baker Ripley, the three major servicers of the Harris County program. And so if you were denied, you can come, bring your stuff and say, I was denied, can you tell me why? And hopefully they can say, oh, I see what the problem was. Maybe we can fix that and get your problem solved and get you the money.
You had a question, ma'am?
Yes, I want to first say thank you and the Constable Precinct 1 Foundation for all that you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday, you said justice wasn't served in the human trafficking case.
Uh-huh.
Is it your position that the women are not telling the truth? And will you now release the internal investigation? If not, why not?
Go ahead.
Yeah, this press conference has to do with the need of these people in the community to get to assistance for rental assistance for the landlords and the tenants, and that is not something that we're going to handle today.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all for y'all's support. And again, media, please do all that you can to get this message out to help as many people as we possibly can. Thank you. Excellent work.
Your son engaged to my son's.
Thank you very much. I'm excited about this program.
Me too. Thank you.
Mazel tov.
Thank you very much.